Hello, my lovely wrestling fans. It is Katha from wrestling-infos.de here, and with me is Michael Oku. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, last year you had a few matches at wXw, and when did you first hear about wXw?
I think I first heard about wXw when I started training to be a wrestler, which was 2017. My first thing to do was to make sure I'm researching on in the entire. Again, I'm starting in the UK, but I knew that there was a European wrestling boom that was happening. So I wanted to know all the big promotions that are around me, or that I should aim for. And so wXw was one of them. They, of course, did a lot of stuff with Progress Wrestling when they would come to London and do some shows at the Dome. So, and there were so many wrestlers that would come from WXW that would come to London and wrestle here. So it was always a thing of like, okay, WXW is one of the top promotions. And it is one of those things where, as I'm learning about WXW being a big promotion at the time, then I learned about their history from 10 years prior, and all the big names that have come through WXW who now have main evented WrestleManias or are champions in WWE and have gone on to even bigger things. So WXW has been on my radar for a long time, even though it was just last year that I debuted for them.
Yeah, it's your first time at 16 karat gold, which is the reason I'm able to talk to you. We're doing this interview. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting a very, very rowdy crowd. This is huge for me in the sense that in my opinion, in independent wrestling, there are two major tournaments that everybody talks about. It's the PWG Battle of Los Angeles and it's the WXW 16 Karat Gold. I've been fortunate enough to be part of PWG Bowler. And let's just say I'm going to use that experience of being in such a huge tournament and bring that into the 16 Karat Gold tournament. Again, because there's so many worldwide wrestlers that are coming in and normally come in to participate in this tournament that like I want to make sure that this is one that people remember because of me being part of it.
And who would your dream opponent be?
My dream opponent, well, I did learn about the first round tournaments. There was a live stream that where it turned out the first round matches, and I'll be wrestling Joseph Fennec Jr. in round one, who is someone, the former Senza Volta, someone who I have wrestled in the past. Oh, but there are so many. Leo Rush is someone I put on my list of people I'd like to wrestle this year before I even knew he was in the tournament. So who knows? Hopefully he can win his first round match. I can win my first round match, and at some point in the tournament, we might be able to lock horns.
You already mentioned the crowd. What do you think is the biggest difference between German and British wrestling fans?
Ooh, this might get me in trouble. Who knows? Um, so what I have noticed in the few times I've wrestled in Germany is from town to town, the crowds are different, and maybe it's because the capital cities, or sorry, not the capital cities, but the more popular cities like Oberhausen, I think they get a lot more wrestling than maybe some of the small cities. And what I notice is that the smaller cities love every aspect of a wrestling match. They love the beginning. They get into the beginning parts of the wrestling match, as well as you interacting with them. Whereas Oberhausen, it takes some time to build. You need to take some time to build them up. But then when you get them to a high point in a match, when you're giving them your all, they give you their all back in terms of noise, in terms of just being very, very rowdy. So the crowds in Germany, so receptive. They love good wrestling. And so if they don't know who you are, all you have to do is wrestle well, and that will be enough to impress them. In terms of the UK, they love to sing and chant anytime for anything. So it's a bit harder to know whether they're singing and chanting because they like you or just because they want to sing and chant. But both crowds are really loud, really rowdy. But the German fans, I really love how much they respect the wrestlers and give an opportunity and give you a chance if they don't know you.
And speaking of British wrestling, we have to talk about your match against Will Ospreay at RevPro High Stakes. You defended your RevPro undisputed British heavyweight title in an insanely good match. How exactly and how long do you prepare for a match like this one against Will Ospreay?
So physically preparing for that match, it was going to the gym more often than I've ever done before, doing cardio more often than I've ever done before. Um, but that's arguably the easy bit. It's the mental aspect of preparing. There's so much pressure that comes with not only doing a rematch of a match of ours that was already critically acclaimed, but the weight of expectation of this is Will Ospreay's last independent wrestling match. Everybody's coming here to say goodbye to him, to see him in that last match. And by everyone, I mean literally like Tony Khan that came to see that match. So that's a lot of pressure that comes onto you. Um, and that was the hardest part of just trying to make sure that I was calm, that I was focused to do my best and to do what I know I can do, even though that's what happens, you doubt yourself. But I had to just steer the course and just believe in myself and know that I can hang with Will Ospreay and I can be there as part of something really, really special.
Was it the most pressure you ever felt?
100%. 100%. I've never been more nervous. I kept thinking to myself, I can't mess up. It can't be bad. And that's the thing. With a Will Ospreay match, if they say the match was good, that means that it was bad. You know what I mean? It needs to be great. Like otherwise something went wrong and it won't be Will's fault, it will be the other person who's wrestling's fault. So I knew I needed to be at the top of my game in terms of my wrestling, in terms of my like appearance and my gear. I wanted to make sure that I did my best to match up with him, and I feel I did just that.
Yeah, well, Dave Meltzer gave your match against with 6 stars, making it one of the best matches of all time for him. What is your opinion on this rating?
I think it's really cool. I do think it's really cool. Again, so that would be the highest rated independent wrestling match of all time. So I will confidently then go around and say it's the greatest independent match that's ever happened. I can say that with confidence. But for real, it's a very useful thing. Someone that has such a large reach and loads of people listen to him and loads of people respect his opinion. If he's gone out of his way to watch an independent wrestling match, someone who's in America, then and he's saying how good it is, it will make other people take notice. And maybe they might not share the same opinion, but they're gonna watch. And as an independent wrestler, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people to pay attention so that we can get more opportunities and bigger opportunities and we can increase our name and value. So to have a match that's rated 6 stars and for me to be the only independent wrestler to ever have such a feat like that, I feel like it's going to really, really help me in terms of my future in professional wrestling.
And in general, do you think star ratings help or hinder the wrestling business?
So I hear different debates about it because then I hear some people say that wrestlers then wrestle for the star rating. I've tried not to do that. The way I wrestle, I very much am prioritizing the live crowd, not even people who are watching on cameras. I'm so much prioritizing the audience that is there in person, and that's all I really care about. I want to make sure that the crowd that are there are losing their minds, are loving everything, that I'm interacting and getting eye contact with them. And if they feel that the match was incredible, then that's what I'm happy with. And I think that's what happened on Sunday. Like if you were to poll the near 2,000 people that were there, so many of them said that that's the best match that they've ever seen in their life, which is very, very cool. Even the promoter, Andy Gordon, said that's probably the best match I've ever seen. Better than any Bret Hart match that he's seen, and he loves Bret. So that's who I'm performing for. I think someone else saying that, hey, this is the rating I give, I just think that's a positive because what he's doing, and he'll say himself, he's recommending matches to people. If you're in this day and age, there's so much good professional wrestling, so many good matches to see on independent wrestling, on television wrestling in WWE, AEW, in Japan, that you can't watch everything. So here's someone who's saying, hey, this match from this independent promotion, you probably should check it out because it's pretty good. I think that's a positive. I think that's a good thing.
So now Will Ospreay left the kingdom to the US. wXw is in Japan. Besides you, who are the biggest names left in the UK?
Well, it's a good segue, but I'm not just saying it because he's in the tournament. Luke Jacobs would be another big name in the UK, and he's in the 16 karat gold tournament. He's wrestling, I think, one called Manders in the first round, which will be crazy. Like they hate each other hard, and I'm pretty sure that's why that match got put together. He's someone who started off as a tag team wrestler, and due to unfortunate injuries, has had to become a singles wrestler, but has really found himself in an incredible way. I think he had the best match of the all-in weekend, and I'm talking across even the AEW show as well as all the indie shows happened that weekend when he wrestled Ishii. That's how good I think he is, and I think the world will also now slowly start to see how good he is. So Luke Jacobs would be like number one in terms of who's next. Ricky Knight Jr. as well. He also wrestled Will Ospreay. Huge star on the UK scene. But those would be the two that I'd say that are like right there beside me, in my opinion.
Do you have any British wrestlers as a role model?
As a role model myself, let me go back and let me add Leon Sledge to that list as well. He's signed to TNA. It feels like he wrestles on the independent, so I feel like I don't want to count him as an independent wrestler, but he's very much an independent wrestler, and I think he's just as good as anyone else. In terms of role models for myself, oh my gosh. So people won't believe this, but Trent Seven was someone that I actually looked up to when I was coming up on the British wrestling scene, because as British strong style was a big thing around the world, I was really enamored by how he specifically, away from Pete and Tyler Bate, he was able to entertain the crowd and get the crowd engaged in a unique way. I thought he did things that were always really funny or different ways that was different. He just wrestled different to them. That I always thought that he stood out to me. There's a cool thing that I've been able to wrestle him since that's happened. So I guess that's someone who like at least was a role model for me as I was coming up in British wrestling.
While researching for our interview, I haven't seen all your matches in every promotion, so I researched and I found you sometimes are billed as OJMO. What is the meaning behind that abbreviation? Is it?
Yes, it's an abbreviation. I no longer use that name anymore. So that was my initial name when I started wrestling. I thought it would be really cool when I was like a child. That was the name I came up with. If I was ever going to be a wrestler, it'd be the OJMO. It stems from Michael Oku and then Owen James, which is Owen Hart's first and middle name. My older brother's favorite wrestler of all time is Bret Hart. I didn't know who my favorite wrestler was, so I just found out that Bret Hart had an older brother, a younger brother. So I'll be like, all right, I'm your younger brother. He's Bret's younger brother. He'll be my favorite. And then he just turned out to be super entertaining. And I remember from a young age being an entertaining guy. And I remember my brother being like, no, that's not how you do a sharpshooter. But like we would play wrestle and be like, no, into the sharpshooter this way. You're doing Bret sharpshooter. So I'd get in trouble for doing Bret sharpshooter because he used different legs. But it was just, I thought he was so funny, so entertaining. He was in the Nation of Domination. I thought that was a cool thing. So I just had a connection with him, especially when he passed, it kind of really hit me as one of those first people in my life that I didn't know personally, but I had knew of that had passed away. So learning that like OJ was his initials, and OJ in terms of my real full name was kind of how I was referred to growing up. I was like, oh, it's perfect. In a way, I felt like it was like a fake kind of like perfect thing that we had the same initials. So I was like, okay, OJMO fits perfectly. I don't use it anymore. Michael Oku is what I use because he has cool matches. So and it just kind of feels more relatable if I have a real name. So I'm just gone with my actual real name.
So you're built as a freelancer, but do you view RevPro as your home promotion?
Of course, yeah, I would say that would be the home promotion. I'm an independent wrestler, so I can wrestle where I want. But if I have to say, like, this is if you want to see the best version of me, Rev Pro is a place to do that. Simply because I grew I grew there from the ground up is kind of how they built me. I was building a name when I first debuted there in 2018, but I went from building my name there to being offered huge opportunities against really cool opponents. 2 years into my career, I'm being given Pac, and I'm being given Shingo Takagi. Shingo, who's a former, 16 Garrett Gold winner, and I'm growing as a performer, and the crowd is getting behind me and following my journey. The fan base of Rev Pro also know me better than anyone else. So therefore, when you see me for a Rev Pro, I feel like I'm a different animal in that sense.
Beside the Osprey match, you had at least another big highlight this year. You were part of the Jericho Cruise. What are your impressions?
It was such a fun time. It really was. It was a holiday sprinkled in with a bit of professional wrestling. To do that as a way to start my year essentially was very very cool. And again, I'm in there with AEW wrestlers. I'm just around a lot of AEW wrestlers and working with the talent, the referees, the crew. They made me feel really at home and really comfortable. Such a cool time to have 3 matches on a boat, and also just to enjoy some sun in January. If for someone in London, it is a novelty. So that was probably the most exciting part of going on the cruise. The fact that it'll be sunny in January. But yeah, I had a fun time.
Was it strange to wrestle on a ship?
So before you get in the ring, a lot of the shows were at night, and it was at night that the tides were strong, so you could actually feel the ship rocking. But when you got in the ring, you didn't really feel it because you're already doing so many rolls and flips and jumping around that you can't really think about the ship rocking. But before you got on there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel dizzy. I feel like I've had loads of shots of tequila because of the way it made your stomach feel. But yeah, other than that, like it was cool to just like actually get in a wrestle and also win a belt, win the Jericho Cruise Championship as well.
Okay, you're the second one holding the Jericho Cruise Oceanic Championship title. Since apparently it is only defended on the ship, does it mean you will be on board next year?
So it does mean that I'll be well. That's the plan. I'm gonna try and see if I can defend it elsewhere on other independent wrestlers on land, not just sea. But yeah, I'm gonna try and see during this year if I can defend it in other promotions. If any promotions, if anybody wants to challenge me for it, they're more than happy to. So as long as I still have it, I think that's my ticket to be on the cruise next year. So fingers crossed.
Okay, and as a pure fan, I have to ask about New Japan Pro Wrestling. You were part of New Japan's Royal Quest II and III. Was it something special for you?
Yes, yeah, 100%. Especially Royal Quest II, that being my first taste of wrestling for New Japan, is something that I have my eyes set on. I'm a huge fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think from 2012 onwards was when I started watching it regularly. I'd watch a few things here and there with Prince Devitt and like the Tanahashi Okada matches. I'd watch the Wrestle Kingdoms nearly year to year, but from 2012 onwards, I was like, okay, I'm watching everything to do in New Japan. So to be able to wrestle for them, uh, not only in 2022 but 2023 was a very very cool experience, and doing it no less this last time at the Couple Box. which is where I watched the first one. So I was just in the crowd for Royal Quest I, which is in 2019 before the pandemic. And then there I am in the ring as the British heavyweight champion, teaming with Tanahashi and Eddie Kingston. Yeah, it was just a very, very cool highlight.
Is it strange to be in the ring with Tanahashi? He's such a legend.
I did feel comfortable. That's one of those ones where I didn't feel nervous. I felt very comfortable and confident, and which was strange because I would expect the opposite. He's someone, and if you see some of my matches, I take a lot from Tanahashi. There's like I do a lot of frog splash cross bodies, frog splash to the back. That's all from him. That's all directly stick to. I do some dragon screws too, because I just think he was the ultimate babyface, and that's something I wanted to model myself after. And so that to be there beside him, as cool as it was, I wasn't nervous. I was just very excited that that was the case.
You were also in a tag team with another legend, Yushin Thunder Liger, in 2019. Is that a match that has a special place in your heart?
Yes, that was Jushin Thunder Liger's final UK match. So to be chosen to be his tag partner, to be his like in that moment, again, 2 years in, a lot is happening, very overwhelming that period of time for me in my career. But then to be beside him as he's wrestling for the last time, and again, he was very meaningful to the rise of Revolution Pro Wrestling. So he also had an important part to play. He was one of their first imports that they brought, and because everybody loves Jushin Thunder Liger, he is an absolute legend, an absolute pioneer of junior heavyweight wrestling. He's someone I always think about as an example of like what the difference is between cruiserweight and junior heavyweight, because I'd always see him as he wrestles similar, close to a heavyweight style, even though he does some high flying stuff. He's just smaller than the heavyweights, and I thought that was the kind of style that really, really appealed to me. Not just completely high flying, but they've got like a good ground game, good technical wrestling. So he's an icon, and to be there beside him in his final match was just a really, really cool and emotional moment for myself.
So 2019 was a special year for you, but I think 2024 will be too. So now that your long rivalry with Will Ospreay is over, at least for the time being, who or what do you see as your next big challenge?
So I don't think it's a question of who my next challenge is. I think the challenge is now that he is gone. I have officially taken the helm as leading the UK scene. So the challenge will be, can I do that? Can I hold that weight, to hold the sword, my pun intended, that he once carried? And while we enter this, it feels like it's the beginning of a new era officially. And I feel like what my aim will be is to continue to make the UK scene, I say the UK scene, but the European scene as well, grow. Because I think all eyes, again, there's so many European fans that come to RevPro, there's so many British fans that come to wXw. So we're all together in that sense. I want to see what I can do to help grow the entire scene further and further and further.
But at some point in the future, do you have plans to leave your home country, perhaps to live and wrestle in the USA or in Japan?
I'm open to it. I can't say no way I'm going to live in America, or no way I'm leaving the UK. I'm looking to succeed in wrestling. I'm looking to always see what's next and what the next level is. And if it means that I have to be in Japan for a bit, that's okay. If it means I'm in America for a bit, that's okay. But I'm keeping my options open. But at the same time, I want to make sure that wherever I go, I'm still able to help in any way I can with the UK and European scene.
Is there any title in the world you feel like you need to win in your career?
Oh my gosh. I have, oh, see, it's weird. The only one that I really thought specifically that I'd like to win was the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. because I was a huge fan of when Nakamura had it. I was in love, especially with that era of Nakamura and the era of the Intercontinental title. Of course, it doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know if there's one that like has that same sentimental goal for me. I guess there's maybe, I'll tell you what, a newer belt that I have a goal that I think would be cool to have one day is the AEW International title. It's been defended in Rev Pro multiple times now. I think at least 3 times. That's something that I'd love to see what happens if I went up for it.
And what are your immediate plans after 16 karat gold? Something special planned already?
The special thing is to win. That's the special thing. We're talking about it being my year. I've always felt every single year since I think 2019, I've felt that it's been my year, so to speak, in professional wrestling. And it's very hard for me to not think that's the case in 2024, even though we're in February. So January, I won the Jericho Cruise Championship. February, I retained the British Heavyweight Championship against Will Ospreay in a so-called 6-star match. March, I'm planning to win the 16 karat gold. This is just, the train is going to keep on moving.
Okay, so one last question. At the end of every interview, I'd like to ask the would you rather question. So here's the one for you. Would you rather have a lot of high star ratings in your career, but never sign with the big leagues, or sign with one of the big leagues and have just mediocre, okay-ish star ratings?
Oh, okay. I think the answer is signing one of the big leagues with mediocre star ratings, because similar to what we were asking before, the star ratings, like, they do help. They can help you get signed and get you the big attention and the big contracts. But getting the big contracts will get you, like, if you have the contracts, then that's what you're looking for. The goal is to be like a very successful professional wrestler, and that means that you're working regularly and that you're comfortable making a comfortable living through just professional wrestling. So I would be silly to say, no, 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 no. Let me put that contract to the side. I'm going to be over here having really cool matches on the indies. As much as I love it, I think I would choose contract with mediocre star ratings. But the matches would still be loved by the crowd, because that'll be my goal.
That is the most important thing. So thank you so much for taking the time to answer my questions. It's been really fun talking to you. And to everybody watching, be sure to check out our other interviews heading into the 16 karat gold weekend, and see you all next time. Ciao!